How's it going, Kryptonians? Welcome to a brand new Superman and Lois video. I almost said review there. Now, you may know, or you may not know, or you may be wondering, why isn't Superman and Lois on this week? Well, we're kind of on a 3-week break. So that is why I'm here with this video, because I posted on my community tab, hey, let's talk about this season, where things could go, where we're at, feeling with certain things in this season, theory-wise, what could be coming ahead. And so you guys sent in a bunch of questions, and as usual with the discussion series that I have on this channel, whether that's with the Batman or other subjects, we're going to do it about Superman and Lois now. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, get a coffee like I have, and if you enjoy this, let me know by leaving a like. And considering we're on break for a little while now, maybe, just maybe, we can do this again, because there are quite a bit of questions, and maybe if you want to, if you missed somehow the community post, leave your questions down in the comments below, because at the end of the day, we're all fans of Superman and Lois, and I wanted to try and keep something going in the meantime. So, question number 1 comes from Elena Lopez, saying, personally, I can't wait for episode 10. The promo has me so looking forward to it. I enjoy the scene where Tauro happily shouts that he's going to be an uncle. I'm curious to see how the show handles him, both in Bizarro World and our world going forward. Wondering what would you like to see from him? Is there a future where he reconciles fully with his brother and possibly is let out of his prison? Or will Superman never be able to fully trust him? Man, as for next episode, I'm looking forward to it, like I am with every Superman and Lois episode. It seems to have quite a bit of a Addams Family-esque vibe. For example, everyone seems to be in their kind of emo phase. It's like the Kent family is almost famous on this other Earth. I believe in the promo, they're in a limo. Even Jordan's got like long fringe black hair and stuff. Before I get too off track like I usually do, when you say I'm curious to see how the show handles him in the Bizarro world, I think this episode will not only just be a flashback, but a flashback to the point of where Tauro, or, you know, Morgan Edge on that Earth was, as Bizarro said, we were the closest of brothers, and then, like, you betrayed me or something, like, because of your wife or something. Now, I think we're going to see that as well, and it does seem to be a possibility that, as in that episode before, where we saw Lana in the super suit, I was saying in my review, like, could it really be Allie who's the wife? Because, you know, Tauro on our Earth said, well, she must be wonderful or something like that when he found out he had a wife on the inverse world. But people were saying, don't forget about Lana, of which I did at the moment of when I was filming that review. So Lana of their Earth probably gets with Tauro. Something bad happens, so we're going to see that unfold. Maybe Tauro, despite being close with Clark on that Earth and having a different upbringing, was destined, just like on our Earth, to somehow betray him or just do something that Clark didn't want to join in on. As far as what I want to see with that, I'm just happy getting any more Morgan Edge. I think he's been used really well. I think the context for this episode with his character is going to be facilitated well as well, considering it is another Earth. But even on our Earth, as for your latter question, is there a future where he reconciles fully with his brother and is possibly let out of prison? That is such a hard question to answer, because I do feel like, obviously, they've planted the seeds for how Clark said maybe one day you'll be able to say that to Jordan yourself when he was apologizing. And I just don't know. Because you could argue, can he ever be trusted because of what he did? But there clearly is that deeper side to him where there is humanity there, and you can see the psychological impact of his upbringing that it's had on him and how it turned him to be the man he was in season 1. And even though there is a bit of pattern of behavior there and tendencies to him, ultimately you can tell that Morgan Edge just wants family and love. So maybe in a season or two's time they might play with something like that, but I feel like to just let him out now, or even next season, we'll be like, I don't know, then why isn't he always involved? I feel like they could complete his arc and then maybe he gets let out of prison and then he just goes away and he says goodbye to Cal, but just go somewhere else in the world, go off the grid. But then we might see him every now and again pop up in the show. And the reason why he would banish himself is because obviously he's Morgan Edge, he's got the face of Morgan Edge, and maybe like people would just be after him wherever he goes, so he needs to at least get out of Smallville. But either way, guys, I would love to know your thoughts and future projections of Tauro. I do think they could complete the arc, and when that arc gets completed, he goes somewhere else, but as for when that will be done, I'm not sure. But I do think he'll always return in the show unless they do kill him off. But I don't think they'll kill him off anytime soon, considering they did the little fake-out death thing. So Vicky Chase says, hey Boba, I enjoy your reviews. Thank you so much. Do you think Jordan will get a suit? Also, how do you think Clark will react about Jordan being a vigilante in Smallville? As for Jordan getting a suit, maybe one day. I just don't see that happening this season. I mean, as I always say, I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong, but I really do feel like, despite me feeling like we've got more than what I kind of expected with Jordan doing a mini flight jump and saving Kyle, and even like more than that at the end of the episode, coming in and using his cold breath, freeze breath, and slowing down like that and watching the bullet go past. Like, we're getting a lot of Superboy stuff. But to put a suit on him, I don't think Lois or Clark would support that. Even though Lois is proud of the hero he's becoming, and she seemed to come round and accept that her boys are growing up, especially the Kryptonian powered one, at least for now. I'm sorry, Jonathan, but we'll get to you. I don't know if she'd be so down and out about him getting a suit. I think she's all right with him helping out from time to time, but a suit, I don't know. I feel like they're going to play at Smallville Clark for some time, a little bit more time at least. Maybe you could argue that could happen next season, but it still feels premature to me. I feel like we need to see him still basically going through his trials and tribulations of saving people or coming up against his own villains. Like, we've kind of had that with that, dealer he saved Jonathan from. That's like a bit of a rookie thing. How do I think Clark will react? I think it will be okay. I think he'll be shook at first, but he'll be proud ultimately, especially with Lois's context and how she's come round. And I think if Lois has come round to some degree of thinking, Clark will just fall in line, if you know what I mean. I think he will be concerned, but at the end of the day, I think understanding that this is the son, at least, who has the Kryptonian abilities, who's only coming into them more, I think it will be a quick adjustment period. But the suit, I think that'll be getting a bit way over your head. I don't think he needs to... The suit, like, he doesn't need a suit. Like, he's Kryptonian, the bullets will bounce off him like it does his father. The suit is more symbolic, and I don't know if the family is ready to present the world with another symbol of Superboy just yet. I feel like they should save that till... I really wouldn't mind till, like, season 4, honestly. I feel like considering we've only got a few episodes left this season... Then the whole of season 3, more stuff, throw more stuff like this our way with Jordan. The suit can wait a little bit. But let me know if you disagree. Maybe you're like, no, actually, I do want something like that. So Philosopher, I believe that's how you say the name, says, hey, Boba, love your content. Thank you. Keep it up. My question is, do you think John will get powers? Here it is, guys. And if so, when? If I had to land a bet or something, Jonathan has to get powers. It's just... they're going to have their time of fun with whatever they're doing right now. Now, I could be wrong. It could be the end of this season. And I wouldn't be surprised if they tease something like that. One of the final moments, season 2, like, we're going to go to season 3 now and the following year. Let's tease Jonathan getting powers. But as for when, like, accurately, it's so hard to say because I can imagine a couple of different scenarios where... they continue in season 3 with Jonathan being the brother who doesn't have powers, and they can reserve this for a certain time to kind of give the show as it gets on and on and on, maybe interest waivers over seasons, maybe the storylines aren't as popular as they were before, but hey, bang! We've had our reserve, one of our special cocktails in reserve for a while now. Let's give Jonathan powers. And then, like, in season 3 or 4, if they really waited that long, this is just like an off-the-cuff train of thought right now, I can see how that would garner quite a bit of interest because then we have a whole dynamic of Jordan, who's already been exposed to powers for a while, helping his brother come into them, then like maybe even dual Superboy team-ups, dealing with situations. I love the brother dynamic, and a lot of people do already, like Jordan and Jonathan. The actors behind them are great. I really, really do enjoy the scenes they have together. So that would be a massive reserve of power that they have, and they still have right now. They could do it soon and keep that momentum going. And I'm not saying it's not interesting now, by the way, because we're still only getting into Jordan really sinking in and demonstrating his powers more than ever. And Jonathan has had little bits here and there with XK. However, it's the question of what I just laid out. Are they going to reserve it for a while to kind of maybe they want to experiment with other things and just save that really interesting storyline for a little bit later down the line? I think they could tease it towards the end of this season and then pick it up in season 3. That would be really awesome. Maybe something happens with Jonathan. I've been thinking a few theories, like would XK abuse trigger his Kryptonian genes that are lying dormant right now? That hasn't seemed to happen yet, even though people think what happened last episode with the headachy kind of thing was that. I mean, when I first saw that, by the way, I thought, oh, is this the moment? But as I said in my review, as with what happened with Bizarro, when Bizarro came to Earth, with what Clark was dealing with, he had those like headaches in where he was kind of whammying out a bit. Now Jonathan in this moment didn't like whammy out, but it's just the beginning of it. Clark occasionally got like a moment like that, and then it like got further and further and further. So the headaches began that way, and the headaches are beginning this way for Jonathan. I could be wrong again, but I do think it's because Leather Jacket Jonathan, the inverse Jonathan, has arrived. So therefore, he's getting a little bit of headache action, rather than that being his powers coming in. Although I would love that, but I do think it's just a matter of time before Jonathan gets his powers. And like, to say that Jonathan would never ever get his powers in Superman and Lois, I would almost respect the decision, but I would think it's a shame. Like, that's why I say he's going to get them at some point, because I feel like no matter what of the shows run, they're gonna experiment with that at some point. But is it sooner or later? Because I can see them doing another season with, let's have Jonathan being the brother who would typically be the Superboy in the comics, but be his mother's son, like the two depowered people. But I do think they're gonna do it. I just think it's a 50-50 chance for now that they could tease it in the latter of this season. Like, maybe there is some kind of moment. Like, for example, if you guys watch Stargirl, I think in season 1 and 2, they did little teases for Icicle's son having like a little bit of a tease. Like, they haven't even got to Icicle fully yet in Stargirl Jr., that is, until season 3, which isn't even out yet. But in the first 2 seasons, there might have been a little bit of mist or condensation or like cold brewing on a glass if he held it or something like that. So I feel like they could do something so subtle with Jonathan, maybe towards the end of this season, but I just can't call it. I can't call it, but it will inevitably happen. I'm confident in that. So the writer's quill says, "Hi Boba, so here's my thing. In my opinion, Clark seems to have an aversion to having his sons learn about the Kryptonian half. He only took Jordan to his fortress 4 times, and 2 of those were when Jordan was hurt. And he's never taken John as far as we know. He also didn't train Jordan over the 3 months between season 1 and 2, like most of us thought he would. Do you see this as something that should be focused on? If so, do you think they'll bring this up as a plot point? Like, maybe while he's in Bizarro World, he sees the impact opposite decisions had and chooses to not make the same mistake his mirror self did. And that's kind of similar to what I was saying with maybe seeing something between that Jonathan and that Clark that he doesn't want to mirror with his current tensions on his Earth with his Jonathan. Or could he see something that makes him keep the boys away from it more, and we have a conflict that way? That is definitely possible. I didn't see that kind of thing, because on that Earth, it does seem that Jonathan could be a Superboy. And like, maybe, oh man, after what I've seen, I don't want that to happen with our Jonathan if he comes into his powers. Have a good one, Boba. Keep up the great content. Super excited for the video. Thank you, man. So, first and foremost, I don't think so with the first part. I think it's more of a thing where if I imagine myself as Clark having these 2 sons, I've taken Jordan to the fortress a couple of times. They've only recently learned, as of like the first episode, that I'm Superman. They're still in high school. They're very young. I think it's just something that he doesn't want to rush. It's something that will inevitably happen. It's like, I'm not deliberately keeping them from learning about their Kryptonian heritage, or as you say, an aversion to having his sons learn about their, Kryptonian half. Maybe that's the kind of thing that happened off screen, because we've had sprinkles of that in the first season when he showed them the pod and things like that. But yeah, We've never had a scene where it's like, hey boys, this is what I've learned about my destroyed planet. I can't tell you too much, because I've learned quite a bit, but I don't know everything, because my planet got destroyed. But here's what I do know. Maybe that's just a bit too on the nose. There's a bit of subtext there with what they did show us in season 1 with him revealing that he is Superman and them slowly learning things. Maybe they did learn bits and pieces, but I do like to think that as like for the grand overview of it all, it's something that Clark probably thought he would do over time, as of when bits and pieces happen, like Jordan came into his powers more, and as they grow a bit older, he can teach him a little bit more about certain things. They definitely could bring it up as a plot point. I don't know if the writers would have thought of that, like, hey, this is actually relevant. We actually haven't had the sons be educated so much in the Kryptonian heritage ways. How about if there's a room or plot of frustration in the future where Clark's just like, no, you can't do this, and they're just like, hey dad, no, like, you haven't taught us this, you haven't told us anything about where you came from, dad, and maybe they could address that then. But overall, I probably look at it like he's Superman, he's been so busy, he thought maybe he'd wait, because they're so young, as I said. Maybe it's like an intention he has as things unfold. I can imagine it being that kind of thing. All right, so WolfManC says, hey, Boba, love your videos. As always, man, thank you so much for watching them. And to anyone who just says that at the beginning, I really appreciate the support. My question is, how do you think this season's going to end in terms of character development and its story right now? Since the confirmation of Season 3 and where this current season's at, what do you predict is the end goal for each character? Twists, deaths, new characters, etc. I'm curious as to your take, as always. I'd appreciate it, your thoughts as well. The end goal for each character, man, I'm not sure. Twists and deaths. Deaths aren't necessary, even though they're used in a lot of shows, like, to have those shock factor moments. I do feel like Superman and Lois maybe does need a little bit of an oomph with maybe someone dying. The more I think about it, the more I think, will Lana forgive Kyle? I have said that maybe I feel like they are playing it off that she really is moving on. You know, it's been a while, a little bit of a time jump with Superman being gone for over a month now. And it does seem like, oh, they're pitching it in the way that Kyle isn't going to get back with her, but really they might be like, okay, I forgive you in the long run. But what if they kill Kyle? And Sarah has to deal with that. I don't know. I think that's unlikely to likely. I'm really torn in between that. Then there's General Lane. That could be the kind of thing where you can see him dying, but you think, nah, they won't do that. He's a really good casting, good character. He comes in when he's needed, but also like he's interesting, even if he's not in the military anymore. He has access. But then it's like, wait, what if they subvert and almost expectation, but not expectation, if you know what I mean? Because I'm torn with this as well, and actually do kill him. That would be devastating as well, and Lois has to deal with that. New characters, I think that will be teased in a Natalie kind of way at the end of the season. But as for everyone's arc, I think Jonathan, maybe for him, it's about accepting his lot in life as maybe the non-powered person to only maybe then get teased the powers at the end. Like, he doesn't need, like, clearly he's always been on the bench. This season again, he was driven so much by that sub feeling he has to not only his brother, to the football team, that he took XK. So it might be him more accepting that. But again, I wouldn't be surprised just as they do that arc, he then gets a bit of like freeze breath or like flash of red in his eye. And we're all just like, oh my god, did we just see that kind of thing? It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. You never know. As for twists, there could be a reveal. I don't expect this, but I also wouldn't be surprised if like it doesn't seem like Sarah will learn for a while that Jordan is, you know, Kryptonian. But then they could completely pull it out of left field. It's just like towards the season finale, or in the season finale, she finds out, she sees it. But it might be the way they play it that she doesn't tell Jordan that she knows. It's that kind of thing where she knows that he is that, but she hasn't told anyone. And then they could pick that plot thread up in season 3. That's the kind of twist I expect. As for like larger twists, I really don't know. You could say there might be something like Anderson, who's ascending to godhood because he's got both amulets now and he's gone through the portal. I could see it being a cliche thing, and I hope I'm wrong about this. Just not that predictability is a bad thing. It really isn't. It just means you kind of saw it coming. Is that bad? It's kind of up to you. But with Lieutenant General Anderson going rogue, I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason, in order to stop whatever's happening, like he could be like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice myself and I should have done this all along. I know I was skewed along the way, but here I go, and like he does the right thing ultimately. I would love to know what you guys think about that. I don't know, I just feel like right now it just seems to be heading, okay, yeah, we're going to stop Ali, we're going to stop Lieutenant General Anderson, or well, I guess he's not holding that military rank anymore. And then like, what is the end goal? Like, what's the twist? I don't know, but there has to be one. Surely it can't be as simple as, oh yeah, we're going to stop the inverse stuff or whatever. Surely it's going to be some big threat. But again, I would love to know everyone's thoughts on this question as well, with each little sub-question in there. C-Money Jr. says, hey Boba, huge fan. Simple question this time round. When do you think they'll give us a Lex Luthor main villain? Or maybe Brainiac? I think Lex would be the perfect villain for Superman and Lois. I think Lex's ties with the media would really cause problems for Lois, with Lex maybe creating his own steel suit and causing real problems for Clark. Now, Todd Helwing has spoke about this, and he said, well, you know, Lex, and I'm heavily abbreviating here, so don't take this, you know, for fact, but it's more one of those things where that's such a big villain. Do we really want to do that straight away? You know, we kind of want to do these bits and pieces here and there. And I don't know if they're going to do Lex. Like, maybe at some point, but I really, like, my instincts tell me if Superman and Lois goes for 6-7 seasons, let's say, or maybe more, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even touch on Lex properly. Like, they could hint at him between the seasons. But I'm saying proper, what you're indicating, to like season 5 or so. I feel like they want to explore anything and everything else. And even with John Cryer, I don't know about him. Like, personally, it's not really it for me, John. I know loads of people love him, though. I feel like they would do someone like Brainiac first for sure. Try and replicate the kind of cool thing that Krypton, the show Krypton, was going for there, rather than like a little newbie CW Brainiac kind of thing. I think they want to go grand with that. They could do it. I think that could be, you know, like how I was talking about reserve power, like if interest is waning on our show kind of thing, they might pull out the bag, hey, right, next season, you know, Entertainment Weekly article, Todd Helbing teases that the next villain is Lex Luthor. Finally, we're seeing, like, the post-crisis, fully fledged kind of Lex and Superman relationship. But I really don't know. Really don't know. They could save it for like a grand home run slam of a story. This is a Superman who's already quite a lot into his career by now. What history post-crisis does he really have with Lex? What does that look like today? But I would honestly, personally to me, Sorry, but I would like a recast. I feel like I want someone else to be this Lex Luthor for Clark, but I know that wouldn't make so much sense because we've had post-crisis Lex in Supergirl, I'm pretty sure. I guess that should mean it's the same for Superman and Lois, especially as we've seen Diggle in Superman and Lois. So it's like, it technically is within the Arrowverse as much as people do complain, understandably so, that there aren't enough references. But Brainiac, I couldn't say when, but I would be down for them to do him in the next couple of seasons. But as I always say, Superman and Lois, what I like about their show, they kind of break the formulaic approach that other CW shows have done, and they kind of give this multifaceted antagonistic season. You know, season 1, you had the whole thing with Tao Rowe, but like there was the duality to him with Morgan Edge and how that was a threat to Lois, but there was other things going on. In season 2, you have Lieutenant General Anderson and what's going on with him, but you have Ali and other things there. Same thing if they did Brainiac, there'd be other bits and pieces going on, not just one scope down the sniper scope of one villain. And I really enjoy that. It gives like this plethora of things to do for multiple different characters, and kind of splintering it up like that, not too much so, but it's nicely done, and it's just not so, you know, one-toned. So Glenn Kavanaugh says, "Hey Boba, loving your coverage of Superman and Lois, keep it up, thanks for watching." So lots of people have wanted a crossover between Superman and Lois and the other Arrowverse shows such as The Flash. Personally, I would love a crossover featuring a reunion of the Arrowverse Justice League and an adaptation of the death of Superman. At the very least, I hope we can see Tyler Hoechlin's Superman team up with Grant Gustin's Flash before Flash ends. I know what you mean there. And even though I'm not like a huge fan of the CW's Flash anymore, even though I love the cast and Grant is incredible, I do get people's frustration with this. It's a weird situation right now because, you know, at the end of the day, as I've said, like, we've seen Diggle. Like, John Diggle was in Superman and Lois. Yet, we've had Tyler Hoechlin. Not massively too long ago, but he more or less says, abbreviating here, that he sees it as its own thing, kind of. At least that's the way he looks at it. And I believe Todd Helbing has said, like, all those questions about the connection to the Arrowverse and things like that, by the end of this season, there should be a bit of a clearer picture or something like that. And yeah, that just makes me think, what's going to go on there? Because I feel like at the end of the day, considering we've seen John Diggle in Superman and Lois, like, it is clear that this is a part of it all. But it's obviously the way it's been handled is, I do see why people ask a lot of questions, because, like, why hasn't Kara been mentioned? You could have just had a picture, like Jordan saying Aunt Kara or whatever, you know? So it's a bit like, eh. As for crossovers, I think that's possible. I think the pandemic put a little bit of a spin on that, in terms of, I think there was talk with some kind of Superman and Lois crossover with Batwoman and The Flash, and that went to crap. So I do think it's possible. And The Flash, by what I'm understanding, it's not ending right now, and we've still got season 9, so I think there is room for that, especially as, you know, things are getting better and better in the world with regards to, like, you know, pandemic-y kind of stuff, so I wouldn't rule that out completely, and I think it could happen. So Sheriff Kader asks, "Hey Boba, I love your videos, man, thank you. I was wondering if I could get thoughts on what we've seen so far this season. And you ask an interesting question, because I bring this up often in reviews about people's thoughts on the Cushings. So I personally don't like the huge involvement the Cushing family has this season, as it's a Superman show, not Smallville. I like the characters, but they're basically sharing the stage of main storyline each episode, and the villain twist is getting a bit too repetitive in the show for me. So the only thing I disagree on there, I'll have a little bit of a different opinion on, is that I feel like their scenes were just as featured in season 1, and you say it's a Superman show, but I disagree in the sense of it's Superman and Lois, and in brackets, it's a family kind of community show. And I've said this all along, both years, saying that yes, this is a Superman show in a way, but it's Superman and Lois. The fact that they moved to Smallville, it's about not only family, but kind of with this family living in Smallville comes the ripple effects of living in the Smallville community. And as a result, you have the Smallville character, the actual character of Smallville being emulated through, for example, Lana and the Cushing family. So that's why they have that kind of feature. Even though I know people like yourself don't care so much for it, I see the relevancy here, because the one thing I will strictly say is it's not an outright Superman show, even though it kind of weirdly is at the same time. But it's not like Superman, you know? So as a result, we deal with things like family, we deal with things like Lois and her living and operating as a reporter out of Smallville, the Smallville Gazette. We have the boys going to the Smallville High and what that means. So as a result, you have the Cushing family there. What is a way you can bring the Smallville community into this more as well, like Mayor. So I do feel like it's relevant, and I don't think we've been misled on that. I'm not saying you've said that, but like this general scope of this is a Superman show. I feel like from the very beginning, it's been understood and said that it is within the community of Smallville as well, and clearly with the fact that the Kents are living there now, that's got to be a limb to that body that is Superman and Lois. So that's why I don't mind it. I don't mind the Lana storyline and what's going on there as much. But yeah, I've had a little bit of like, with some of the Sarah stuff, even though I like Sarah as a character, but, you know, clearly quite a few people have felt this as well. And, you know, just jumping to the next question to kind of hop off of what you've said. Eli is the GOAT says, I feel like Sarah's becoming unlikable lately. She just feels very vague and it's hard to root for her or empathize with her. And I think there's a question where someone asked me about, Tom Bullis, I hope I pronounced that correctly, roping in another question here. How would you have changed the one bad plot of this series? Jordan's relationship. Would you have not made Sarah cheat on her poor fella? So just answering all that in general, I wouldn't say that's like the bad plot of this series overall. Like, I understand what they were going for. I do like Jordan and Sarah together, especially in season 1. It makes me happy on behalf of Jordan that he's been happy at certain points. The one thing, I get what they were going for with sexuality and things like that. I would never oppose to things like that either. The issue is, and this is what one thing has been echoed throughout, and I'm not trying to make an ad populum here, but like, at the end of the day, people were saying, yeah, that was a bit weird with the way they presented it. And that is where you have things like Sarah being like, I'm not ashamed of it. And I think what they were trying to do there, with, with the cheating, is that she's not ashamed of, exploring her sexuality and things like that. And then like Lana in that garage scene or whatever said, yeah. And if that, that boy, if he doesn't forgive you or get over this or whatever, this is the terrible abbreviation, but then he doesn't deserve you. To them, I know it's a bit different when you're married, but for Sarah to be like, oh, Dad, you cheated on Mom, I saw you with that woman kind of thing. People were pointing out that, and it's just like, Sarah, you say you're not ashamed of it, but it's just like, I get the whole, not being ashamed of exploring things, about your sexuality. There's no shame in that, but there is within a relationship. There's the shame. So that I think it's just a weird way the writers conveyed that arc across screen, that ever since that moment, people have been a bit like, oh, I like Sarah, but like whatever's going on now, and then like, the whole Aubrey thing. It's like, Jordan, I really want you to hang out with my girlfriend and things. It's just a bit, I just feel like they could have navigated it better, and that's why it's rubbing people the wrong way. I wouldn't say it's a terribly bad plot. I kind of know what they were going for, but I will say myself that they should have thought about the way they presented that a little bit better. Because I've said it once, I'll say it again. I like Sarah. I like Sarah being with Jordan. I like them together. And I think it's understandable why she broke up with him as well. It's the kind of cliche Smallville Clark thing. Like, he can't be honest. And it does seem like he's away. I do feel like injecting, it's a bit strange. Hey, hang out with the person I cheated on you with, that's a bit like, so yeah, I just think some people are just struggling with what initially rubbed people the wrong way, and then like frustrations being let out by Sarah, but granted, it's been about relevant reasons, like he's been absent, he's half paying attention because he's saving people, she doesn't know that. But I think to the larger audience, it just makes it look in a condensed kind of way, oh, Sarah's just being irritating. Do you know what I mean? I can like read between the lines there and see what they're going for, but the presentation or the way they've handled it isn't the most understandable way for, like, I feel like the mass audience to subscribe to. That's the only way I guess I could put it. I wouldn't say she's unlikable in general, and I do empathize with her struggle to like feel like Jordan just isn't in on it, and the way they've set that up makes sense, to be honest, because she says and acknowledges, I know it's weird with the whole Aubrey thing, and Jordan's like, oh no, it isn't weird, and he's half paying attention, and then she gets a bit of reassurance from that, and then like, oh, he doesn't turn up to the thing he agreed to, and that's on top of him doing other Superboy things and being a bit absent. So I can empathize with her in that way. It does come across a bit like, so what is my boyfriend doing in that way? I know I've done wrong. And they've included those lines. I want to stress that. Like, Sarah has included those lines of, I know this, I know that, I know blah, blah, blah. She's acknowledged some of her flaws there. But again, I think the way it was teed up with the golf ball, with what I've aforementioned just makes it seem like a bit of noise for the audience to make it seem like, the Sarah thing, hey, you know, just be away with it kind of thing. But how do you guys feel about that? Are you annoyed? Are you more of where I am? Like, I kind of understand. Maybe I've changed your mind a teeny bit, but you know, you may still be like, yeah, but I don't know, it's still not like massively it. But I do feel like ultimately where the story has gone now was an inevitability. Like, even forget the cheating stuff. At some point, with Jordan coming into his powers, this is part of the course of what will happen. He won't always be there, and the girlfriend who isn't in the know will understandably be frustrated with that. It's just, again, I think to put it on the bottom line, that frustration on behalf of Sarah, even though I think it's warranted, and her conveying that frustration, I think to some fans makes their already existing frustration with Sarah come across like she's being more annoying, but really, ironically, it's actually understandable. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking about this one now. Right, everyone, so I have got more questions, but this video has been going on for quite a while now. I've got quite a bit of questions, and as I said, leave some questions down in the comments below. But actually, first and foremost, I should say, do you want to see another version of this next week? I could do it every week, maybe, up until we get the next episode. But at the end of the day, if you guys aren't so interested in it, you know, I won't do it. But hey, you know, we've got that review community on this channel for this show, so wanted to offer some discussion there. Let me know what you thought of everything I gave my opinions on. Offer your own, expand upon them. Perhaps there was something I should have included somewhere where I didn't realize something. Who knows? And obviously, just theory-wise, with regards to some of the questions like, directions for each character at the end of the season, twists, predicted deaths maybe, or if there is even a death. Let me know what you think. Like this video if you did enjoy it. I'd really appreciate that. And hey, if you're watching Moon Knight, check out my Moon Knight review from yesterday. Other than that, follow me on Twitter. I do have an Instagram and a Discord server, as always, linked in the description down below. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you fellow Kryptonians in the next video. Goodbye.